Well, good morning out there in Radio Land. I'm glad you are up and moving and you've tuned that dial to 106.1, the Flip FM, to join me for another episode of Cogitations. Hey, you don't have to just listen to my voice today. I have a guest here with me, and we're going to talk about a volunteer program that she directs out of the Plainview area, but it stretches all the way to Matador and then all the way to the west to Dimmitt, and it dips south of Hell Center, north all the way up to touching Happy and surrounding areas. But volunteering is something I think is very important. Most of the folks tuned into this program are Christians and church-going folks, and we know that we as Christians are called to serve others. That's what that Christian love is all about. And we can't always find those opportunities to serve others. Yeah, there's good works that we can do through our local congregation, but sometimes there's just not enough work to go around. And you need those opportunities to serve others and to find those opportunities. Well, what we're going to talk about today is a good opportunity, a good door that can be opened for you to be able to plug in and connect with people that need that Christian love in their life, that service, that support, that encouragement. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the mic over to our guest so she can introduce herself. And then we're going to talk about her program during our episode of Cogitations today.
Hi, my name is Connie Riojas, and I work for Interim Hospice in Plainview, Texas. And I am a mother of two boys, recently married, and I am also a veteran. And that does, believe it or not, help a lot in the hospice industry.
All right. Well, I'm glad Connie's here with me because it gets really tiresome just listening to my voice on the radio, and it's always good to have a conversation. So let's learn a little bit about the volunteer program. So let's say I want to be a volunteer. Well, what do I got to do to become a volunteer?
You just have to get in touch with me, come fill out an application. You need to get a TB test done and a background screen and a drug screen. And that's to keep both our patients and you safe. Okay.
So you mentioned contact you, and we're going to mention this again at the end of the program. How do they contact you?
You can contact me by phone or email. My email, I'm assuming we can put in the social media part of this.
Yeah.
We can do that. It's Connie Riojas at interimhh.com. And I just start the process with you and getting to know you. I do know our patients pretty well. I've been working with them for quite some time now. And so the ones that I have in mind, once I get to know you, I'll start to see where you fit in with our patients and which ones that you can serve the best.
Okay. So when it comes to volunteering in hospice, and I know just from past experience, I spent 18 months as a hospice chaplain, so I have a little bit of an inside scoop, and I kind of sat in your chair for a little bit too with the volunteer stuff. So what are all of the different options once I'm a volunteer that I can be involved in? Because maybe I'm not so comfortable. I mean, I want to help, but I'm not so comfortable sitting in the room with a patient. So is that the only way I can help? What's all the different ways that someone can volunteer in that hospice arena?
There are other ways. There's administrative volunteers, which you just help out in the office with filing, answering phones, mailings, letters. You can also do some phone calls for me. We have a weekly thing that we call tuck-in calls. We check and make sure everybody has their supplies that are before the weekend comes and that all of their machine is working properly. You can help us with community events. You can help us with appreciation days. We have many appreciation days in the healthcare industry. You can help the families with bereavement. So you can try to set up the phone calls for family members. You can help with you can go with them to the funeral homes to help set up services. Not a lot of people know a whole lot about that, or they're nervous. They just want somebody there with them to help answer questions if they don't know how to answer a question. You can provide insight on special things to do for the family or for that service. So there's many different ways that you can help out. You can also help out as far as maintenance goes around the building. Like if you want to mow the yard, you want to clean, if you can fix things, there's all different ways to volunteer.
All right. Well, when we think about all the ways to volunteer, and one of the things you mentioned there, and I'm just going to highlight that for a second, is bereavement. The bereavement program actually follows family members for 13 months after their loved one has passed. And so it's a very vital part of that, just to make sure the family's doing okay. And I just know from experience, you might not want to be that person that picks up the phone and talks to somebody. But part of the bereavement program is a schedule of letters that are mailed out. And you can simply be producing those letters, putting the stuff in the envelopes, and prepping those to mail out to help in that aspect as well. So there's a lot of ways to help. And like you mentioned, you kind of get to know the volunteer.
Yes.
And then determine how to plug them in.
Yes.
To the program. So let's, I want to explore maybe the visit with a hospice patient. That way people might just get a picture in their mind of what a visit might look like with a hospice patient as a volunteer. And so I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of maybe paint that picture for us of what that visit would look like, so people can kind of get a flavor for what volunteering in that capacity would look like. Of
course. It is a lot of fun. Don't let the word hospice fool you, because they are tons of fun. We laugh a lot. I often get a headache from laughing too much because they are funny. We can play games. I've played Connect 4, and to where I started out winning, probably yes, because they were a hospice patient, but then they didn't know what they were getting themselves into. So then I ended up losing a lot after they started getting their strategy down, and it didn't matter what way I went, they were going to win. So they are very aware of that. You can listen to music. You can sing. I sang with the patient. He enjoyed that a lot. You can color. We color a lot. We do color. I love coloring. It's like a little therapeutic session. We draw. We can play cards like Goldfish, Old Maid, Crazy Eights, Memory. They do like that one. And I am working on a couple of projects as far as leaving behind things for the families. So whether that be Grandmother, Tell Me Your Story. I don't know if a lot of you have seen those books coming out. They're all over Amazon. There's a few in Walmart. It's all over social media right now. It is a lot on TikTok. Grandmother, Tell Me Your Story. Grandpa, Tell Me Your Story. Dad, Tell Me Your Story. Mom, Tell Me Your Story. I am working on words of advice or words of wisdom in situations that a family might go through when you're no longer here. And we all go through that at some point when we think we just have it all figured out, and then our loved one is no longer here and we're going through something pretty tough, and we're like, man, if only I had my grandma here, I wonder what she would say about this, or I wonder what they would think about this, or I wonder what they did. And that's what I am sitting down with a few of them and going over words of wisdom or words of advice for situations a family might go through later.
Okay. Well, that's sounds like a lot of fun that people can have and a lot of different ways in which they can plug in and help. And you did mention that one thing, too. Don't let the word hospice scare you.
Yes.
I try to explain to people, we think of hospice as we're in our last moments.
Yes.
But hospice is basically you have a condition that is terminal and not seeking treatment or is untreatable. And you may qualify for hospice. I tell people when I started as a hospice chaplain, one of the gentlemen that I basically inherited that was already on the program there, I think it was, I can't remember, it was 4 or 5 years. He had already been on hospice for that long and was there during my time. So this gentleman was sitting like 7 years being on hospice. My mom herself was hospice qualified for 12 years. And so we don't, it's not you're in your last moments.
No.
You just qualify.
Yes.
You have qualifying conditions to be on hospice. So there is good opportunities even there to interact with somebody for a long term.
Yes.
And really connect with those individuals. But the big thing is you are providing that service to those individuals to help them just kind of navigate this time of life, to give a little encouragement, to maybe even be a distraction sometimes. When we think about helping folks, we're not only helping the hospice patient, but the family as well that's there, giving that encouragement, giving that comfort. You mentioned like going with people to the funeral home to help them kind of navigate that. And sometimes when you're going through loss, you're not as focused on the details.
Right.
And not hearing everything somebody's saying. And sometimes it's just beneficial to have someone sitting there taking some notes down.
Yes.
Or someone you can bounce off of afterwards and say, did they say this? Did they say that? And just have that other set of eyes and ears that are present there. Another aspect of the volunteer program that is kind of outside of maybe necessarily sitting with a patient or even sitting directly with the loved ones of the patient is just providing basic services. That maybe because of everything that's going on, either the patient's not capable of doing it, or the family also, because of just all the logistics of life, can't cover all the things that are needed. So maybe spend a minute if we can. We're about halfway through our program talking about some of these. I hate to even use the term peripheral because they're still vital, but basic things like, maybe someone just needs their house cleaned.
Yes. Yes, you can do that. You can run errands. You can touch up their house. You can mow their lawn. Just simple things like that they're not able to do. You can give the caregiver a break. And caregiving for a hospice patient is a lot of work, mentally, emotionally, physically. You can just go in and give them a break for an hour to go get a drink or just sit there and do nothing or hear nothing. Sometimes that's just the best medicine. You can do those types of things. You can listen to them. A lot of them just need somebody to listen to them. They can't say what they're feeling necessarily to the patients. Sometimes they have multiple people in their family on hospice, which is hard. Plus, they might be dealing with something at home, like taking care of a family member at home, as well as their hospice family, like their family that's on hospice. And so they just need somebody to listen. Sometimes they need ideas of how to have these hard conversations with their family because, believe it or not, we live in a world where we just don't have those hard conversations anymore, and we're not raising our kids like that anymore. I most definitely am because I've been in the healthcare field, so I've seen a lot of the bad. But bad doesn't necessarily mean darkness or a taboo. We need to have those hard conversations, and we need to teach people to have those hard conversations because it breaks patterns, it breaks cycles, it breaks generational curses. So we need to get in there and just not be afraid to talk.
All right. You made me remember a lady I ran into in Alabama when I lived there and was working with a congregation there, and I was also a volunteer chaplain at the local hospital, and that's where I met the lady, and I was making some rounds, and she was in the room with her aunt at the time, and I got to talking to this lady, and you're just talking about that, some people might have a lot on their plate. And this lady's husband picked up a second job. So he was working two basically full-time jobs so she could stop working because she was taking care of both of her elderly parents who was living with them now because they couldn't live on their own, living with them. I believe one of them was receiving home hospice care. She had a uncle who was in a nursing home who was also on hospice in the nursing home, and then the aunt in the hospital. And there was somebody else, and I don't remember who, that she was also providing that care for. So her full-time job was taking care of these 5 people.
Yes.
And if you've ever been in that situation, even trying to take care of one person can easily become your full-time, 24-hour a day, 7-day a week responsibility and job. And you might lose hope because you never get a break.
Right.
And so that's another important aspect that you had mentioned there, that you can just kind of take a little bit of that stress away. Because it's just amazing, even the blessing that 1 hour to just go to Sonic, sit in the parking lot, and drink a shake.
Exactly.
Can provide for someone just to have that peace for a little bit before they got to go back into it. I know on the military side, and having worked with veterans and veterans that had family members that are caring for them, I mean, they understand the importance of that because they have an entire program dedicated to caring for the caregiver, which involve things like having that respite.
Yes.
To come in. I mean, they take it so seriously, although, the hospice industry doesn't do this, so don't get your hopes up if you're out there listening. But on the military side, and those military veterans, they take it so seriously that if you can't work because you're providing care for this person, there's subsidies.
Right.
That come in for that, which is another thing I know just from my experience. Sometimes you'll find that veteran who's on hospice at home and that loved one's caring for them, and they don't know about the resources. And maybe we'll kind of segue into that since we're on it, because there's a aspect to the volunteer program that has some special nuances for veterans who are on hospice. So maybe we'll spend a few minutes talking about that. We're closing in on about the 10-minute window that we have left. So if you want to give us a little bit of insight on the kind of those special nuances when it comes to that veteran who's on hospice.
Yes, we do look for veteran volunteers to spend time with our veterans. And we also offer pinning ceremonies to pin them and honor them one last time. And it's just a special way to say thank you and to let them know that you are remembered, you are recognized. And it makes them feel, a little bit special. Like what I did was not for nothing, and because it can get like that. And we do like to help our veterans as much as we can. We have an awesome social worker named Kim, and she is full of resources. She will get out there and help connect the families with the veteran benefits and get you hooked up and whatever you need. She's an endless book of knowledge as far as her resources go. I mean, she's amazing at what she can do. So we're all a big puzzle, honestly, and we each are a piece of that puzzle. And sometimes when all of our puzzles are tapped out and we don't know what else to do, we're like, Kim, your turn. Tap, like you're in. Next, tag, you're it. And because that's how this is honestly the only way it's going to work, is if we each help each other in this big puzzle. We're all a piece of the puzzle, and we all have something to bring to the table to help the families, to help the patients, to bring closure, to give a good end-of-life care, to lead them, to guide them. It's a very special program. I love hospice. I love our patients, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. And death does not equal darkness, and hospice is not a bad word. And we shouldn't be scared. I mean, I can talk for hours on hospice and death and education and, I don't know, helping our families, changing the perspective of hospice and death. It's a beautiful thing. It's in the Bible. It's biblical. We're in church. We're learning to have a spiritual relationship, a strong spiritual relationship. But sometimes when it comes to hospice, we tend to shy away and close up and go the other direction, and we don't want to have that.
Yeah. There's a fear a lot of times that surrounds death, and maybe not so much a fear, but an uncertainty. People just don't know how to help, what to do, and with a little direction, it becomes a lot less scary and a lot less confusing. And that's the benefit, I think, of volunteering with hospice is, one, on the onset, you're being able to help somebody, but you're getting direction.
Yes.
Because if you just tried to do this on your own, you probably wouldn't know where to start, what to do. But it gives you some direction. There's a lot of training that's available for volunteers. I know we would do different volunteer trainings just to help you acclimate to different environments, different situations, to kind of learn about all the different fun things you can do. I know, like, one of the things that a lot of the ladies and stuff on hospice likes, and even in nursing homes, just to go in and paint fingernails. Yes, and it's just something they can't necessarily do for themselves. I know one lady, just because of the arthritis and stuff in her hands, she couldn't finish a quilt.
Yes.
So I had to find somebody who had those quilting skills. I don't possess those. And helped her, just sat there, and she would give the direction of what piece or whatever she wanted to do next, and finish that quilt for her, which was something she wanted to give to her daughter, which comes back to something you're talking about with that legacy.
Yes.
That legacy of wisdom, the legacy of insight. Sometimes it's a matter of just sitting down, helping them put together a scrapbook.
Yes.
That people can just see their life. And it's something that remembers. But what that does, I think, through the volunteer program is, let's say down the road, you have a parent, you have a loved one who's now on hospice. Because you were a volunteer, while it's still going to be very personal to you, and like you said, it might feel dark, but you realize that it's not.
Right.
And you're better equipped at that point to really minister to your loved one, because you were ministering to others that had gone through that. And so that kind of helps you even prepare for your own life in volunteering. So we're coming in on about 5 minutes. So anything else on volunteering you might want to share with us?
I do. It helps you a lot in your personal life. There's been some things that I've gone through recently with my family, and it's helped me look at that different.
Yeah.
It's helped me handle it a lot different. Getting emotional because it does things for you that you don't even imagine it could do. It helps you have a better mental and physical health. You get better life satisfaction. It helps depression. You find purpose. It's very important to have purpose in our life. And when you don't have that, you can take a very dark path or lonely path, and your health declines. You get better life expectancy out of volunteering. This is research-based. Improved sense of well-being. There's lots of benefits to volunteering, and one personal for me, because yes, although I am the volunteer program manager for this program, I still go and do the volunteer job if I don't have a volunteer. So I'm doing these things with the patient. I am getting those benefits of a volunteer, and it has helped me tremendously in my family and with my kids.
That's good. It definitely can change your perspective on life.
Yes.
When you're there with people, and really even restructuring what you value and what your priorities are. But before we kind of wind down and close out, just another thing I want to mention about volunteering, and again, I'm just speaking from my own experience. The great thing about a program like you have at Interim Hospice and being a volunteer at Interim Hospice is you're in control as a volunteer. Connie's mentioned several different ways in which you can volunteer, and that's one way you're in control. You can pick what you're comfortable with, and maybe you're comfortable sitting with a patient and having those interactions, and maybe you're just comfortable being that silent person that's out front mowing the grass. Maybe you're comfortable just sitting in the office stuffing envelopes.
Maybe it's piano.
Maybe it's piano and just playing at one of the nursing homes. That's another thing we didn't really get into is there's a volunteer aspect to where you're just going in, maybe even with other people, and just doing a program. I know in Alabama, I'd take a bunch of teenagers to the nursing home on a Sunday afternoon, and we would just sit in the common area and play board games with the residents. Anybody who wanted to come out and play, which generally was all of them, they wanted that interaction. They starve for that social interaction. So you have control on how you volunteer, but also on the logistics side. Maybe you only have 2 hours on an afternoon a week you can volunteer. All that can be managed and worked into. So whatever you're able to give to others by having this structured program, and you made that reference to that puzzle, they can take your piece and just plug it in to that puzzle to ultimately build a complete picture and a complete really care package, not only for the physical and not only for the mental, but for the emotional and the spiritual aspect of that individual. And so all that can go together. So we're going to revisit real quick. I want to volunteer. How do I get a hold of you? So give us that email again. And then also maybe spell that email out.
Yes, it's Connie Riojas, ConnieRiojas at interimhh.com. And our main office number is 806-288-0220. And just let them know you want to talk to Connie.
All right. Well, remember, if you missed a part of this program, it'll be up after it airs on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, and you can find that there in previous ones. Maybe we'll have Connie back for another one. She said she could talk about all these different things for hours. So maybe we need to make a string of multi-parted episodes, maybe 100 episodes. That'll be 200 hours of talking. No, that would be 50 hours. I got to do my math right.
I'm interested in feedback. Is there somewhere they can place feedback or questions? Or?
You can go to the Cogitations website. You can go to Cogitations website. It's cogitations.net. And that's cogitations.net. And up at the top, there's a talkback tab. You hit the talkback, you can fill that out. It'll drop into the Cogitations email box. If you're looking at your phone, you're going to have to hit the 3 little bars at the top to see that talkback tab. Or you could just email connect@cogitations.net to give any feedback about the program or if you had questions about what's going on. And so if you don't email Connie or call Connie, you can connect that way as well. And maybe, since you brought that up, there's a particular question about hospice or end-of-life care or something that you have. Hey, drop that message in there, and maybe me and Connie will get together and do a program focused on those questions as well. Well, our time has expired for this Sunday morning. Again, I'm glad that you've tuned your radio in and caught this episode of Cogitations. I'm grateful Connie joined me, so you didn't just have to listen to my raspy voice for 30 minutes. And I look forward to you joining us again next Sunday morning at 9 a.m. here on 106.1 The Flip FM for the next episode of Cogitations. Until then, may God bless you. May God encourage you. May God watch over you.
Tune in next Sunday at 9 for another edition of Cogitations with Carl Hartman, minister at Main Street Church of Christ in Lockney.